Hi guys, how's it? Welcome back to another video brought to you by me, the Fairweather Rugby fan. I do appreciate all the liking and the subscribing I've been getting, so continue to like and subscribe. Something unique, an American, at least accented point of view on the game of international rugby. I do appreciate it's great. A lot of discourse last week on the video where I kind of tore apart the MLR and dissected the MLC a little bit as we are still kind of looking at that league. I will be going to a game on Thursday night with a colleague from work. Obviously, you guys will get some video footage of that so you guys can see T20 professional cricket here in the United States. So obviously you see the title of the video, the best 15, in my opinion. Now, once again, like I said, this is 100% my opinion. This is not on paper. Some of these you might agree with. Some of you might just think are downright idiotic. Obviously, heavy on the Bok contingent on this. The South African contingent is high, as that is my favorite side. But I also tried to be a bit impartial about things. And also, if they're kind of older before my time, obviously, I don't have a whole lot of partiality with that. So let's go ahead and get into this, man. A spoiler, there is 2 currently active players that have made my 15, my all 15. So we'll go ahead and start out with the props. Obviously, I don't think there's going to be any argument, at least from my SAFA followers on this, but I'm going to have to go with Osterant. 80 caps for South Africa. I mean, the amount of bloodied pictures there are of this guy, if you Google image searches, is quite disturbing. And he earned every one of those 80 caps, so that's why he will get my prop. I just was excited to watch him. I saw him at the tail end of his career, obviously, but he was always just kind of one of those guys that he was a soldier in the trenches. The dark arts of the scrum, he was a master of them. The other prop I'm going with, and I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of disagreement with me on this one, and that would be Adam Jones of Wales, 95 caps. I mean, I think I just, more than anything, enjoyed watching that guy's, just because he was this big dude, massive mane of hair, and put in that work for the Welsh. And I tried to, not be too, like I said, partial to my box, but he definitely deserved, and I just enjoyed watching him play when he did play. Now for the hooker, which was kind of a bit of a debate on this. I mean, I really, it was hard not to pick Rory Best, one of the greatest Irish players of all time. A lot of people probably pick somebody like Sean Fitzpatrick. That was before my time. That's why I didn't pick him. And there was even kind of a bit of a thought to maybe pick Malcolm Marx, man. I do believe he does have that kind of career. Maybe in 1 or 2 years we'll come back to this, and I probably might pick Malcolm Marx. But I'm going with John Smith, 111 caps, and just was really exciting when he was playing. Another one of those guys that just was a soldier down in the trenches. Great on the lineouts, he's just an exciting guy. Like I said, this is not the best on paper. These were just guys that I particularly enjoyed watching play at these positions. So next we move back to the locks. And as I had said earlier, there are 2 current guys still playing right now. I'm going to go with the guy not playing first. And once again, I don't think there's going to be much of an argument on this one. 127 caps for South Africa. Made up half of the combo. That's Victor Matfield. You'll hear me bring this up many times on this list. Gentleman of the game. Vic is everything. Vic is all that and more. That guy is truly a gentleman of this game. And, with the combo he had with Bucky Sputa, I mean, he was a little bit more of the thinking man. Bucky's was a little bit more of the enforcer. And, even in the interviews where you hear them talking and you hear, Vic telling Bucky, son, this, you must do this. Bucky, son, this. He was the brain and the body, but Bucky's was the enforcer. But Vic, I don't think anybody's going to argue with Matfield on that one. And my second lock pick, Evan Etzebeth. I think he is the perfect blend of the Bucky Sputa, just psychotic, crazy mentality, and the mental thinking of Victor Matfield. I think we get the superb blend of both with Eben Etzebeth. And I think we're truly witnessing one of the greatest locks in history in Eben. That's just my personal opinion. You've heard the jokes I've said about him in the past. He is the boogeyman that lives under the bed. He is El Kukui. He is the guy in the closet. He's just, Eben is all that and more. And I think we are truly blessed in history to be watching that young man. He is going to be one of the greats of all time. No question. Then we move back to the flankers at number 8. And it was, forgot to mention, really hard not to put John Eales in at lock. But once again, a guy in the 90s, I didn't follow it as heavy as I wanted to in the mid to late 90s. But John Eales, another great one, but he just did not make it over Vic or Eben. Then we move to the flankers. And, I mean, it was really hard, once again, not to put guys like Sir Buck Shelford. We all know the story. We'll just say balls out. A guy like Sir Michael Jones, guys like Francois Pinard. It was hard not to put those guys, but those guys were kind of before my time. I knew Sir Michael Jones more because he didn't play on Sundays. And one of my favorite quotes was, hey, how can a guy be so vicious out there and you're such a devout Christian? He said, well, it's better to give than receive. And a guy like Buck Shelford, for those of you guys that don't know, the Haka would not be what it is without Buck Shelford, without Wayne Shelford. He is who got the Pakeha people, European New Zealanders, Pakeha, that's the pejorative for them there. He's what made the Haka what it was. He taught them to respect what that Haka means to the Māoris there in Aotearoa in New Zealand. So it was hard not to put those guys. And then obviously with Francois, the 95 Cup, him and Madiba, obviously just had, Mandela Day not too long ago. And I had to put one of my favorite quotes about, rugby lifts people's spirits when they don't have anything to really be proud of. And that's why I'm a Springbok fan, because that's what that jersey means. When my life is hell, at least I know my team is good. But, it was hard not to put those guys, but those guys were before my time. So I went ahead and went with, and he got away with murder at the breakdown, but 148 caps, 2 World Cups, Richie McCaw. I don't think you can argue that at all. Arguably, no, not even arguably, New Zealand's greatest captain. Point blank. That's it. Period. To me, probably the greatest All Black of all time. Just absolute power, leadership, lying about being hurt so you don't have to get taken out of games. That's what a leader does. And Richie is everything in that and all, and then some, and also a very good gentleman of the game. And then I had to switch to the other side, and this one, like I said, it's more of an age thing. It's more of like I saw him in his prime. David Pocock of Australia, 78 caps. He's a politician now, not surprisingly so. Born in Zimbabwe, obviously, represented the Wallabies internationally. And just speed, power, ferocity, everything that makes a flanker good. He did it well. And just no argument. I think he was great. And it was just exciting to watch him play. He's another guy that I'm glad I got to watch play. And then at number 8, a guy who's still somewhat playing, obviously not playing for his national side, 142 caps for Italy, and that's Sergio Parisi. I don't think, outside of success at the World Cup level, obviously didn't have really much of that. Just a proper number 8. Scrums, he's a good driver in the scrums. Good speed, good under the ball, just everything that a good number 8 needs to be. I would probably argue to put Dwayne Vermeulen in that same spot just because I love him so much, but I had to go with Sergio just because I just enjoyed him, especially when he was in his prime. Now we go to scrum half, and this was another one where there were quite a few guys, and I got to see the last end of like Justin Marshall for New Zealand's career. Aaron Smith has been absolutely amazing as a scrum half. Even somebody like Furi de Pria, I saw him during his peak. Great guy. But this is a guy who I saw towards the end of his career. He did pass away. He had over 100 caps for the Springboks, and that's Hoos Vander Westhuizen. I know I'm going to butcher that for my Safa followers. I'm sorry. I tried it. I can get it sometimes, and sometimes I can't. But Hoos, he was just we talk about guys like Faf de Klerk and how like massive they are, and they're giant killers and whatever. He was doing that way before Faf de Klerk was. Offloads, kicking, just everything, tackling, just speed, ferocity, that getting in the back of the rucks and getting the ball out so quick. And, you know, he got sick all of a sudden, and it was like he passed. Like, it was like a really quick thing. And I just such a great rugby player. We lost a really great rugby player that day. And he was a guy, and it was just it was all of a sudden. Like I said, he just got sick. I remember him coming out on the field with like the braces, and it was just like, man, it just took him like so quickly. And it's really sad because he was great, and it was so exciting. Even the last tail end of his career that I got to see, he was just exciting to watch, and it's really disappointing when he passed. But yeah, Hughes gets my scrum half at number 9. Then we move to the first 5/8 or the fly half position, and I think a lot of people would just expect me to just say, "Oh, Dan Carter," and I'm like, "Yeah, nah." Sound like a Kiwi saying that, but I didn't go with Dan Carter. If you ever hear me say anything positive about the English and their rugby, it's usually about one man and one man only. 91 caps, 03 Rugby World Cup, and just a downright just good dude. And that's Johnny Wilkinson. Absolutely amazing player. And another guy that I got to watch in his prime, and it was nice. It was nice. He was good. And he was exciting. And even afterwards, like anytime I find interviews with him, anything like that, I watch him, man, just because it's just like, dude, he's such a solid dude and an amazing rugby player. Like anytime any good kickers come from England, Marcus Smith, learn from Johnny. He's the best. Owen Farrell is cocking rubbish. Johnny Wilkinson's the best. I would put my money on Johnny Wilkinson any day of the week. Just absolutely amazing. So then we move on to the wings. And I think like the generic answer is like Jonah Lomu. Jonah's great. First big name in the pro era. And people over here know who he is in America. Jonah Lomu's great. But I just never saw him at his peak. But you know who I did see at his peak? That's right, Brian Habana. No question. Greatest winger I've ever seen in my life. 124 caps, leading try scorer for the Springboks, and given props to guys like Kurt Leodenza. Remember when he went to France and got jacked? Like, dude, Brian Habana, another gentleman of the game, another dude. Anytime I see interviews, anytime I see anything of him on social media, I have to watch, I have to look, I have to like, dude, speed, grace. I mean, even the 07 World Cup where he gave up that try to the Zimbabwean American guy who I'm trying to get on the show. He does live here locally. Just humility, man. I mean, 07 Cup champion, just absolutely lights out. Just the best winger I've ever seen in my life. That's really all I have to say about Brian Habana. Just the best ever. The GOAT. I say that on social media. He is the greatest of all time. As far as wingers go, the best I've ever seen in my life. Period. I know I'm young still, but yeah, the GOAT right there. Number 1. No question. And then my other wing, this one might be a bit of a shock for a couple of people. Not for me. Only 8 caps for his national team. I did reach out to a Fijian player on the Jackals, and he did tell me how to pronounce his last name. Still cannot, but we all had a name for him. Rupeni Kalkau. the Fijian winger. Only 8 caps for Fiji, and it's more of a thing, and I wrote it on my note on my sheet here. It's like, what could have been? What could have been? Massive body, massive speed, horrible with English. Just everything that was amazing. Watching him play for the Blues in Super Rugby, the dude was unstoppable, man. Just a force to be reckoned with, and just disappearing, getting Nike contracts and disappearing and going back to Fiji and buying a power generator for his village. That's what kind of guy he is. So also a gentleman, but Rapeni was just the bit that we got to see. God, he was magical. It was just great. So moving on to the centers. Once again, a great before, but really before my time. Guys like Danny Herber, the Springbok, John de Villiers. I did see him in his peak. Great guy, but not 100% what I was looking for. So I went with my first pick will be Brian O'Driscoll of Ireland, 133 caps. I don't think anybody's going to argue with me. Great offload ability, great speed, great defense, just great to watch in his prime. And I got to see him in his prime. So that was the great part about that. So that would be my first center. And my second center, once again, this isn't on paper. This is just my personal favorites, guys that I loved watching play, and he just retired, and that's Franz Steen. I'm going to miss that man. I was hoping he was going to make another run for another World Cup. Boot, that smile, that boot, that boot, that boot. What a kicking, 50-plus meters on a rag. We are going to miss you, Franz. We are going to miss you a lot, and I'm going to miss that smile the most, just because of that smile in the photo. We're going to miss that. That guy, legend status, 100% in my opinion. One of the greatest centers ever. Just a sheer joy to watch play the last 17 or so, 15, 16, 17 years. Yeah, just absolute. We got lucky to see that guy. We captured lightning in a bottle with that guy. Great, great player. And we round it all out. Fullback, I don't think there was really any debate. You guys that know me, you already know who I'm about to say. You already know. Leading scorer in Springbok history, 102 caps for South Africa. Flowing blonde locks. That's Percy Montgomery, man. Dude. I just loved watching it. Big body at fullback. Could kick really well. Defense. Like Willie LaRue's great, but he's not a big body. Percy Montgomery was a big upper body strength. You don't see him like that anymore, really. And he was solid at fullback. 07 World Cup. Another reason we won it that year. Many guys on that team. He was one of the biggest reasons, I believe, in my book, that we won that year. So you guys let me know what you think, man. 15 guys. You can do your list. Let me know what you think, man. That's kind of what this is all about. Leave your comments below. Tell me what you would have picked for your 15. Maybe we're pretty close to the same. Maybe we're totally different. But we got lineups coming later in the week, obviously, as the Mighty Springboks get ready to take on Los Pumas. Final round of the Rugby Championship. But until then, hope you guys are safe. Cheers, guys.